The crash that changed everything. The stars were gone. Only fire and smoke filled the sky. The human colony ship, Unity Star, had crashed on a strange planet. No one saw it coming. One moment, they were heading toward a new Earth. The next, alarms were screaming, and the ship was falling from the sky like a burning star. Commander Laura stood outside the broken ship, staring at the red-orange sky. Around her, pieces of metal lay everywhere. Some fires were still burning. People cried, groaned, and limped through the wreckage. The forest beyond them was silent, too silent. Dr. Harris, the colony's chief biologist, joined her holding a scanner. The air is safe, gravity is close to Earth's, we can survive. But for how long? Laura asked, her voice cold. She looked around. We're not alone here. He nodded. I saw movement earlier, in the trees. That night they built a temporary camp near the remains of the ship. Food and water were low. Communications were dead. No message was going to Earth. The colonists were truly stranded. Children cried from hunger. Injured people moaned softly in the background. Laura walked among them, offering weak comfort. Dr. Harris stayed up, studying local plants. Some looked edible, others dangerous. Then it happened. Soft hum rose from the forest. Blue lights glowed between the trees. Slowly, strange, tall figures stepped out of the darkness. Their skin shimmered like moonlight. Their eyes were large and deep, glowing gently. They moved like whispers, silent but smooth. The colonists froze. One of the beings raised her hand, palm open. A peaceful gesture. No one moved. Then, to everyone's shock, the being spoke in broken but clear English. We are the Nyari. We see your pain. Gasps filled the camp. How do they speak English? Someone whispered. Dr. Harris stepped forward slowly. I'm Harris. We mean no harm. The Nyari woman tilted her head. We watch. Long time. The humans looked at one another, confused and unsure. But Laura saw no weapons, no anger, just curiosity and something else. A strange warmth in their eyes. The Nyari offered fruits and glowing water. They pointed to a large open area in the forest and gestured for the humans to follow. It was risky, but staying meant death. After much debate, Laura gave the order. We go. The next day, the colonists followed the Nyari to a peaceful valley. Strange birds flew overhead. Giant flowers opened to the sun. It was beautiful, almost like a dream. The Nyari showed them safe places to sleep and edible plants. Slowly, the fear began to fade. As days passed, humans and Nyari started to understand one another. The Nyari learned quickly. They picked up English faster than expected, as if their minds were wired for language. A Nyari named Azira became close to Dr. Harris. She asked many questions about Earth, humans, even love. Harris noticed something strange. Every time he touched her by accident, her hand, her arm, her skin would glow slightly, and she'd step away, looking confused. One evening, Azira stood beside him by the water. She looked at the moon's reflection and said quietly, You make my mind feel loud. Harris frowned. What do you mean? You are different, she said. You pull me. He didn't know how to answer. He felt it too, something strange between them. But he didn't understand it. Not yet. Meanwhile, other colonists also grew close to the Nyari. Laughter returned to the camp. Stories were shared, wounds healed. Something impossible was happening. Two different species were becoming more than allies. But not everyone was happy. Some humans whispered in fear. This is not right. We're becoming too close. Others saw hope. Maybe this is what we were meant to find. Far away, watching from the mountains, another alien species saw it too. They were not pleased. Back in the valley, Azira touched her chest and looked at Harris with serious eyes. "If bond begins," she said, "it cannot be broken." Harris looked into her glowing eyes. "What bond?" She didn't answer. But the wind around them felt heavy, like it carried a secret too big to speak. That night, a baby cried somewhere in the human camp, but it wasn't a human baby, and no one had expected it this soon. Something had started. Something bigger than survival. Something that would change the fate of all species on this planet. Forever. First, contact becomes something more. The moonlight bathed the valley in silver. Human tents were quiet, but the Nyari stood awake, their glowing eyes watching the sky. A storm was coming, not from the clouds, but from what was growing between two species. Dr. Harris sat by the fire, unable to sleep. Azira sat across from him, her fingers moving gently across a strange Nyari stone that hummed softly. She didn't speak, but her eyes kept returning to him. She wasn't just curious anymore, there was something deeper, something human. Ever since the strange baby cries had been heard in the night, whispers spread through the camp. But no baby had been found. It left people confused and scared. The next morning, Laura called a meeting. Her face was tired, eyes sharp. "We don't fully understand what's happening. These connections between our people and the Nyari, this bond they talk about, we need answers." Dr. Harris nodded. "I'll speak with Azira again. I believe she wants to tell me more, but something holds her back." Later that day, Azira took Harris into the Nyari sanctuary, a garden full of floating lights and singing plants. There she placed her hand on his chest, just over his heart, and whispered, "The bond begins in the body, but it grows in the mind." Harris felt a strange warmth fill him like a gentle fire under his skin. A light tremble moved through Azira's fingers. Her breathing changed. "What is happening?" Harris asked, afraid and fascinated at the same time. Azira stepped back. "My people. We do not bond with outsiders. You are the first." "Why me?" "You feel," she said softly. "You do not fear what you don't understand. That is rare and dangerous." Back at the camp, other humans were also getting close to Nyari partners. One soldier named Jenna was seen laughing with a Nyari male, while a mechanic named Tom shared meals with another. These moments brought joy, but also tension. Some humans felt jealous. Others felt like something sacred was being broken. Then came the shock. A human woman, Leah, collapsed near the food station. She had been spending time with a Nyari male named Vior. When Dr. Harris examined her, he was stunned. "She's pregnant," he said, looking at Laura. Laura's eyes widened. "That's impossible. They're not even the same species." But it wasn't just pregnancy. Leah's body had changed. Her skin shimmered slightly. Her heartbeat had slowed. She was still human, but something more. The Nyari elders were called. They arrived in silence, robes glowing in blue and gold. One elder placed a hand on Leah's stomach and closed his eyes. When he opened them, he spoke. "The first child has begun." People gasped. Harris stood frozen. Azira stepped forward. "The Nyari do not create life easily. Our numbers are few. But when our kind meets another who can receive us, the bond becomes life." Commander Laura whispered, "Is it safe?" The elder nodded. "If the heart is clean, the life will be strong." But others were not ready to accept this. "This is unnatural," one man shouted. "It's wrong. It's not human." And in the trees far beyond, something else watched. Another species. They had been watching for days. They had seen the bonds forming. They had seen the changes in the human bodies, and they knew what was coming. "We must stop this," one of them hissed, their voice dry and full of hate. before the humans spread their sickness to all. Back in the valley, Azira looked into Harris's eyes again. Now that the bond has started, your people must choose. Choose what? Harris asked. To become more, or to lose everything? Harris's heart beat faster. He didn't know what to say. He didn't know what the right path was. But one thing was clear. This was not just survival anymore, it was evolution. And it had already begun. Forbidden bonds and public outrage, the sun rose over the valley, but it did not bring peace. The humans had built small shelters now. Children played near the Nyari ponds and crops began to grow in alien soil. But something had changed. The air felt heavier. People whispered more. Smiles were thinner. And some eyes held fear. Leah, the first pregnant woman, stayed in her tent, guarded day and night. Her skin glowed faintly now and her eyes sometimes reflected soft Nyari light. She no longer felt fully human, and that truth scared her more than the baby inside her. In the morning meeting, Commander Laura faced the crowd. "We must speak plainly," she said. "This bond, this pregnancy, it's real, and it's spreading." Gasps filled the air. Dr. Harris stepped forward. 3 more cases have appeared. 1 male, 2 female, all have been close with Nyari. The bond is real and it's fast. That's when the shouting began. A man from the security team stood up, furious. "This is wrong. We came here to build a human future, not mix our blood with aliens." Others nodded. Some shouted back, "They saved us! We'd be dead without the Nyari." Voices clashed, hands pointed. Laura tried to calm them, but the crowd was split. Meanwhile, hidden in the hills beyond the valley, the watching aliens, the Qatari, prepared for war. They were a proud, warrior species who believed in purity and strength. To them, mixing species was a crime. They watched the Nyari-human bonds with disgust. One Qatari leader slammed his fist into a rock and growled, "They are making monsters. We must stop them before the infection spreads." Back in the valley, the changes grew more visible. Tom, a human mechanic, began dreaming in the Nyari language. Jenna, the soldier, could sense people's feelings before they spoke. And Leah began glowing even in sleep. Dr. Harris and Azira studied each case. Azira was quiet, her face full of concern. "This is too fast," she said. "Even for the Nyari, something old has awakened." "What do you mean?" Harris asked. "The bond is meant for peace, but when it is rushed, it becomes wild, unstable." Later that evening, someone spray-painted the words "human first" on the side of a shelter. Fear had turned to hate. Leah cried in her tent, feeling like a stranger in her own body. That night, everything changed. The Qatari struck. They moved through the forest like shadows. No sound, no mercy. A guard went missing. Then a food store burned. When the colonists woke to the fire, panic spread like wind. Commander Laura gave the order. "Everyone stay inside. Weapons ready." But the Qatari didn't want to fight yet. They left a message carved into the wood at the camp's edge. "Stop the bond, or be destroyed." In the quiet that followed, Azira turned to Harris. "They do not understand," she said softly. "The bond is not just between people, it is between hearts, between species, between futures." Harris looked around the camp, the fear, the confusion, the tension. "Then we have to make them understand," he said. But deep inside, even he wasn't sure anymore. Because something about the way Leah's unborn child moved inside her didn't feel like peace. It felt like power. A power no one was ready for. The hybrid children arrive. The storm came without warning. Black clouds rolled across the valley, lightning flashing in strange colors. But it wasn't the weather that shook the human camp that night. It was the scream. Not a scream of fear. A scream of birth. Leah cried out from her shelter, her body glowing with waves of soft blue light. Dr. Harris and Azira rushed to her side. Sweat poured down Leah's face. Her heartbeat echoed unnaturally through the room. But her eyes, they were calm. She whispered, "He's coming, and he knows." The child was born as the storm struck its peak. The lightning hit a tree nearby, splitting it in two. The ground trembled. And then, silence. In that silence, the baby cried. But it wasn't just a normal cry. Every person, every human, every Nyari, felt it inside their minds. A deep vibration, a pulse that touched something ancient. Some dropped to their knees. Others gasped in confusion. Commander Laura gripped the doorframe to stay standing. She looked toward Leah's shelter in horror. What was that? Inside, Harris held the newborn. The baby looked human, mostly, but its skin shimmered slightly, changing color like the Nyari. Its eyes opened wide, already glowing. It did not cry like a normal baby. Instead, its thoughts flooded Harris's mind. Pictures, emotions, pure connection. The child was speaking, without words. Azira stepped back, stunned. He already sees. By morning, news of the birth had spread. The entire colony gathered, fearful and fascinated. People stared at the child. Some crossed themselves. Others whispered prayers. A few wept. Then, something no one expected happened. A second woman went into labor. And then a third. Within 2 days, 4 hybrid children were born. All were different. One had silver eyes that could see in total darkness. Another could calm people just by touch. A third laughed, and animals came near. Each child had a gift. But the fourth child, born to a quiet Nyari human pair, was different. When it cried, everyone in the camp fainted. For 10 full minutes there was silence. No one moved. No one breathed. Then, one by one, they woke, confused, shaken, and changed. Dr. Harris was terrified. These children are more than human, more than Nyari. They are something new. Commander Laura stood before the people that night. Her voice was strong, but her eyes betrayed fear. "We must protect the children," she said, "but we must also understand them. What are they? What will they become?" Not everyone agreed. A group of colonists gathered secretly, whispering, "This is wrong. We didn't come here to create monsters." Others defended the hybrids. "They're innocent. They're part of us now." But deep in the forest, the Qatari had heard the mind wave from the fourth child. They gathered in silence. Their leader, covered in black armor, raised his clawed hand and growled, "The prophecy has begun. The Mindborn have arrived. If they live, we die." The next day, 2 of the hybrid children vanished from the camp. Panic spread like fire. Laura sent search teams. Drones flew through the sky. But nothing was found, except a Qatari claw mark on a tree near the camp. Dr. Harris held the fourth child in his arms. The baby looked up at him with glowing eyes and sent a single feeling through his mind. They are coming. This was no longer just about survival. The future had arrived, and it was just learning how to cry. The alien invasion, within it, started with silence. The kind of silence that felt too perfect. The sun rose over the valley, but no birds sang. The Nyari trees didn't hum. The water didn't ripple. Everything stood still, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Commander Laura stared at the empty cradles. 2 hybrid babies were gone. No trace, no scent, no sound. "They were taken," she whispered, fists clenched. "But how did they get past us?" Dr. Harris paced beside her. Someone opened the gate, from inside. Betrayal. That word hung in the air like poison. Security officers searched every shelter, but no clues were found. Until a camera drone returned with footage. A human colonist, dressed in Nyari robes, sneaking through the trees with 2 small bundles in his arms. He wasn't alone. Qatari shadows moved with him. The camp exploded with panic. Why would one of us help them? Was he brainwashed? Are more of us working with the Qatari? Fear split the camp like a knife. Friends turned suspicious. Whispered rumors became shouting matches. Azira tried to speak to the crowd. The Qatari fear what they do not understand. They seek to end the bond before it grows too strong. Someone shouted back, "Maybe we should too." That night, Harris stayed awake with the fourth hybrid child, now the only one left in the camp. The baby no longer cried. It stared at him with quiet, endless eyes like it was waiting for something. Suddenly, the child's eyes glowed bright gold. A wave of emotion hit Harris's mind. It was a vision, not a dream. He saw a Qatari base underground, glowing with red lights. The stolen children floated in glass chambers. Their minds were awake. One of them sent a thought into the stars. "Help me." Then, the vision vanished. Harris gasped for air. His hands shook. He looked at the baby. "You showed me," he whispered. "You're more than a child. You're a bridge." He ran to Commander Laura. "We don't need ships," he said. "The child can lead us. We can find them." Laura hesitated. "You're asking me to follow a baby's vision?" "No," he said. "I'm asking you to follow our future." A mission was formed. Laura, Harris, Azira, and a team of human Yari pairs followed the child's signals into the mountains. The child never spoke, but pointed, blinked, or sent faint emotions that showed the way. Days later, they found the cave. Qatari guards waited inside, armed and ready. But the moment the fourth child was carried forward, everything stopped. The guards dropped their weapons. Their minds were invaded, gently, powerfully, by the child's presence. Memories of pain, images of hope. A wave of peace so deep it made the soldiers fall to their knees. But one Qatari leader resisted. He lunged at the child. Azira threw herself in front. The claw slashed her chest, and she fell, bleeding. Harris grabbed the child and screamed, "And stop!" But the child didn't cry. It simply looked at the attacker. And then the Qatari warrior froze. His body shook, his eyes rolled back, and he collapsed, not dead, but changed. When he woke, he whispered one word: "Forgive." The stolen children were found, alive, frightened, but glowing brighter than ever. Their minds reached for the fourth child like stars pulling toward gravity. Back in the valley, Azira recovered slowly. Harris stayed by her side, holding the child in his arms. "You saved us," he whispered. But Azira looked weak. Her eyes dimmed. "You saved more than us," she said. "You saved tomorrow." The humans had feared the hybrids. The Qatari had tried to destroy them. Now, both sides stood in silence, watching the children, tiny beings with hearts full of stars. The invasion had happened. But not with guns. It happened through a child's mind and a choice to love what others feared. The psychic war begins. The wind changed that day. It carried no scent, no sound, but something deeper. Every creature in the valley felt it. Animals hid in their nests. The Nyari stood still in prayer. Human colonists touched their heads, shaking, as strange emotions passed through them like invisible waves. The hybrid children had awakened. At sunrise, the four returned children stood together. They didn't speak. They didn't cry. They only watched the sky, eyes glowing with colors no human could name. The youngest child, the fourth, who had never left the camp, stepped forward and placed a hand on the ground. The earth answered. Plants bloomed instantly. Stones floated. Light moved in spirals around them. Dr. Harris stared in awe. "Their minds are growing faster than we can understand." Commander Laura stood beside him, armor on, jaw tight. "And if we can't understand them, can we control them?" A voice answered, not aloud, but inside their heads. "You do not control the sky. You walk beneath it." It was the children. For the first time, they spoke as one, their thoughts touching every mind in the valley, gently but firmly. Even the Qatari warriors nearby fell to their knees, overwhelmed. "We are not weapons," the children said, "but we will not be hunted." That same day, word spread across the stars. Somehow, the hybrids' minds reached beyond the planet. Ships in orbit received strange signals. Other alien species, some never seen before, heard the psychic call. And they came. Within days, alien vessels appeared in the sky. Peaceful ones, curious ones, and warships. They had all come for one reason: the hybrid children. Some wanted to protect them, others wanted to capture them. A few wanted them destroyed. The human camp stood on the edge of chaos. One night, a powerful alien known as Vexari Prime, covered in golden armor and speaking through multiple voices, arrived in the valley. His offer was clear. Hand over the children. We will raise them in safety and silence. The hybrids looked at him and replied without words, "You fear us." Vexari Prime did not answer. A moment later, a shockwave of psychic energy exploded from the children. It did not hurt, but it forced every mind on the planet to feel everything the children had felt since birth: rejection, fear, curiosity, hunger, kindness, love. No one could move. No one could hide. Even Laura dropped to her knees, overwhelmed by the flood of emotion. When it ended, everyone was changed. Some wept, some fell silent, some finally understood, but not all. One warship fired a warning shot toward the camp. That's when the fourth child raised her hand. The beam of energy froze mid-air. Time itself seemed to pause. The beam unraveled into light and vanished, like dust. "No more war," the child whispered. The Nyari gathered around, chanting softly. Humans stood shoulder to shoulder with them. The Qatari bowed their heads. The hybrid children walked forward, unafraid, calm. They were no longer babies. Their minds had outgrown their bodies. They were becoming something else, and the galaxy was watching. Dr. Harris looked at Laura. "We didn't just find a new planet. We gave birth to a new future." But deep in space, another force stirred. A dark signal hidden in the stars responded to the hybrid wave. A voice cold as ice said, "They are not gods, they are experiments, and they must be erased." The real war was just beginning, and it wouldn't be fought with weapons. It would be fought inside the mind. A new race is born. The valley stood, silent as the stars shifted. Above, 1,000 alien ships circled the sky. Some watched, some waited, a few prepared to strike. Across the galaxy, word had spread. The hybrids are real. They weren't rumors anymore. They were alive, growing, becoming. In the heart of the valley, the 4 hybrid children stood beneath the alien sky. Their eyes no longer glowed. They shimmered like stars. They didn't speak aloud. They didn't need to. Every mind within reach felt them now, felt their peace, and their power. Inside her command tent, Commander Laura watched the data screens blink with warning signs. Incoming fleets from 12 systems, some armed, some diplomatic, her tech officer said. Laura looked at Dr. Harris. "If they demand, we hand over the children. What do we do?" Before he could answer, the 4th child, small, calm, glowing softly, stepped into the tent. She looked up at them, tilted her head, and said in perfect English, "I will speak to the stars." The next hour changed history. Using nothing but thought, the hybrids connected every alien ship above. Every leader, every soldier, every frightened pilot. They connected them to each other and to Earth's colonists through pure memory. The hybrids showed them the crash, the hunger, the Nyari's kindness, the Qatari's attack, the fear, the hope. And then, they shared what could come next. A vision. Not of war, but of a future. One where humans and aliens lived side by side, not in fear or power, but as something new. Not human, not Nyari, not Qatari. Something united. A child born from difference. The ships did not fire. They powered down. One by one, they left orbit, except for one massive vessel, dark and silent. It was not there for peace. It belonged to the beings who had once created the Qatari long ago, masters of control, users of genetic codes. They called themselves the Varn, and they had come, not to study the hybrids, they had come to delete them. "They are a mistake," the Varn voice boomed from orbit. "They were never meant to live." The hybrids answered not with weapons, but with light. A wave of thought rose from the valley, slow, gentle, but unstoppable. It passed through the Varn ship. Systems shut down. Power fell. Lights dimmed. The entire vessel floated helpless, surrounded by silence. Then the fourth child spoke, her voice echoing inside every being on board. You cannot erase what has already begun. The Varn fled. No weapons were fired, no blood spilled, but a message was sent across the stars. The hybrids had chosen peace, and they would defend it. Back on the ground, Azira, still recovering, watched the children gather all three species, human, Nyari, and Katari, beneath a growing tree. The children touched the soil and the tree lit with life. A new flag was placed beneath its roots. Not of Earth, not of any alien race, but of the future. One race. Many hearts. Commander Laura addressed the crowd. We came here to build a new home. But we didn't just build one. We became one. From that day, the valley had a new name, Harmonia, and the first page of a new history was written not by war, but by 4 children who reminded the galaxy. The greatest strength comes, not from power, but from unity.